This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
I've learned so much ever since we've had her on. I love her passion for her profession, and that is certified massage person. I mean, I've everything from deep tissue to Swedish and so much more. And we're going to learn more today, kind of dispel some of those myths that many of us hear when it comes to massage. And she is the person behind Jami's Therapeutic Touch in Reading, Pennsylvania. Jami Lausch is back with us. How you doing today?
I'm doing all great. I'm very sad. This is my last podcast that I had signed up for, but I'm hoping to make it a good one.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It was great last time. I'm trying to think of, we were talking about something about the arm and the hand or something there.
Yes. So I'm a big proponent of live theater. I love WWE wrestling. I love going up to New York City and seeing the Broadway shows. And when you study any kind of live theater or watch it, you notice that the athletes or the actors only have one chance to make a performance. That means if you mess up or anything, you must make it unnoticeable as possible. So the last time that we were talking, I was talking about my hand and how when I was in massage school, how my hand doubled in size. And I said the thoracondylar aponeurosis. Well, we're all human and we all make mistakes, but I noticed it. And then later I went back to make sure if I said it correctly or not. It ended up being a palmar aponeurosis. And I thought it was hilarious when I watched it back because you forget how much you naturally keep going as like someone who loves live theater. You learn that naturally.
But that's just it. The rest of us don't know the difference between that and what, a freebistatic converter or a strangulator. You could say anything, and I'd be shaking my head like, yeah, that sounds about right. We don't know what those things are called. But thank you for the clarification on that. I appreciate it.
Oh, no, surely. Even if you go out to Australia and if you ever watch like Finding Nemo, there are people out there who have called out some things about the differences between the anemones and the clownfish and everything. So it takes someone really intelligent to pull out those things. So I like to, especially with a muscular sense, make that change. So someone comes up to me in 2-3 years and says, "Jami, you said the wrong muscle." I would think it'd be hilarious.
Okay, well, we set the record straight.
Yes.
You've been doing this for quite some time now. If you could change one thing about the profession of massage, what do you think it would be?
So in terms of everything, it's something that I did notice even in massage school. As a professional or anyone walking around the streets, when you are faced with a situation that you're not prepared to handle. What I mean by that is, as a massage therapist, we were in a single room with one person being a client and one person being a therapist. Well, when it comes down to some things, in reality, in a massage therapy world, it's you versus the client. So if the client decides to act out for any reason, not every, especially a new therapist, knows how to handle it. So when we're in massage school and we're going through our continuing education classes, I've noticed that we do not get enough education on how to handle the people who are not acting as what they should, the people who are being very inappropriate, as it sounds. I think that there should be classes out there for us as the people or professionals to be able to go to have clients or someone who is able to have those inappropriate moments so the people who are new or just need refreshers remind themselves in the moment how to handle it. Because if we cannot handle it the right way, it can also be back on us. So I think those classes should be everywhere. And I also think if the state or the national boards, any of them, are caring enough to give us continuing education credits on that. It's along with ethics, you go over what you can and should not do. When it comes to telling stories, of course, you do have the opportunity to ask every single client that you would like to tell a story about their permission. And some of my stories go up back 10, 12 years, but you need to make sure you're asking their permission basic before you run around with their information. However, in terms of ethics and acting correctly, what you want to do is make sure you put yourself in those courses if they were ever available so you can handle the inappropriate moments as professionally as you can.
Mm. So are you talking about refresher classes along the way, or just some kind of class about handling situations like that?
Yes, something like that. Like when we are in situations when, even in a dentist's office where there can be sharp tools around,
Mm.
any person could very easily get up and use one of those tools against any honest worker.
It could happen.
So it could. And that is the day and age we live in now. And it's very important to not just give your students the perfect client. Is just as important to give students a not appropriate client within regulations and safety standards to make sure that we're ready for what we're not expecting.
I didn't expect that. And there's so many situations that could present if not trained. I got to believe most massage therapists wouldn't know what to do. Like, how do I handle that? What am I supposed to do in that situation? So thank you for bringing that up. I mean, that for the rest of us, I'm going for my massage. If I fall asleep, I apologize. We don't think about that, but there can be some out there that some people can be challenging, inappropriate, et cetera, et cetera. How do you handle it? Unless you're trained, you're not going to know really. Hmm.
Yes,
Wow,
and
never
I
thought
think
of
we
it.
should keep on that training on a fairly regular basis, once every other year, how ever you would like to do that. But I think they should be part of our ethics requirements in the state and national board, so we know how to take care of ourselves a little bit better, especially if are in an establishment where we're on our own and there's no one else around. Because unfortunately anything can happen this day and age, and it's important for as many people as possible to be ready and knowledgeable when something like that happens so you don't overreact with them.
Well, interestingly, I would assume that that training is part of everything else you learn. But, I'm making a mistake there in terms of the assumption. While we're talking about assuming, how about we dig into massage myth or fact? We started doing that last time we got together. I'll hit you up with a bunch of them. You tell me if it's a myth or fact and why. All right. How about
Sure.
how about this one? If you are pregnant, you should never go for a massage. Myth or fact?
It all has to do with your doctor and making sure that you can. When you come for a massage, what happens is we only know what you tell us. We do not know your full medical history, and it's important for everyone to feel comfortable and safe, especially when you're exiting your first trimester. The first trimester in many massage therapists are kind of weary. It is very debated on because of all the changes and the higher risk of miscarriages and things that can happen during that time frame. But when it comes down to everything, if you're ever unsure, you should talk to your personal care physician.
What about you should never talk during a massage? Myth or fact?
Is not a fact. What can happen is some people completely like to fall asleep. Like you had said, some people like to talk.
Mm.
As long as it's professional and appropriate, and we don't have to deviate the conversation very far. Um, as some people like to talk their day out. We are not professional therapists, in terms of communication. However, some people like to just talk on because this is their mental relaxation time. Some people talk just to calm down. So as long as that is within safe parameters, they can absolutely do that. And then there's everywhere in between.
And I would also imagine too, if you were never allowed to talk during massage, how are you going to share what you're feeling? You know, you need to say, oh, yeah, a little too heavy there, or a little lighter, or yeah, dig in a little bit more. I got a little something going on over there. You're never going to be able to convey that information to the massage therapist if you can't talk. What about this one? Drinking water after a massage removes toxins. Myth or fact?
When we work on you, we make the muscle warm up with blood and get in there to be able to help clear it out with fresher blood. Whatever might be there, the knots, the stagnant blood, or any toxins that make their way out of your system get repurposed with new blood. That old blood, essentially, if it does not get flushed out by water, the muscles that you work on can become more tender and more vulnerable, essentially, because they're not their normal movable selves. They just got worked on. So if you do not drink necessarily enough water, those toxins can make it back into the muscles that are vulnerable and in some ways defeat purposes of the massage themselves. So yes, drinking water a little extra before and after your session is over is very important to know.
Let's pivot over. We'll press the pause button for a second. When somebody has a knot, what exactly is going on there? It happens to all of us, most of us. You get a knot in your shoulder, your back, or whatever it might be. You have this visualization of it's your muscle in a knot, like a bow, or something going on there. What is a knot?
I think last time we did the pecs in the front and the contracture, and how did we talk about regeneration? I think
I believe so.
Where if it shortens like
yes,
this,
yes,
and if you stay like that, it goes. I think at the end, I kind of rush through the upper back. So when you go open like this and your muscles, I think I said it was like silly putty. If your silly putty manufacturer say is this long, and you overextend it, say this long, that muscle goes from 3 to 6 inches, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So when you bring your posture back and come down, that 6 inches turns back into 3, right? But since it's silly putty, when you push it back together, you have that extra lag, right?
Okay.
So the extra lag, essentially, as it goes back and forth throughout the years until it bothers you, what happens is it goes through that same every single day. So the muscles are where you are the majority of the time.
You know, I got to tell you, the silly putty thing, it's a great visual because now I got it. When you stretch out silly putty, and even if you wanted to put it back together,
yep,
you have a so it's got to go somewhere. Yeah, yeah. Wow. So that
extra muscle is essentially just kind of hanging out there, and the muscle doesn't necessarily work the way it should work because it's overstretched beyond what it should from its manufacturer settings, right? So when it does that and it hangs out, it can not do its job correctly, causing the muscles around it to compensate. So in terms of compensation, it would be something if you need to stop what you're doing and add on to make sure they catch up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the muscles essentially do the same thing. When your one muscle area isn't doing its job, something surrounding it has to pick up their work and try to make it as even as possible, which comes to incompetencies. And those knots can come from the overstretching, the feeling of the overstretch, and the knots underneath it can bundle up because you're stressed out that you're doing more than what you were supposed to be doing inside of your group project.
Gotcha. Wow. Uh, again, the silly putty thing's fantastic. It is so clear because when it's stretched out, you've got the excess. Well, what are you doing with that? That's going to be
Right.
in your back problematic. Massage effect. Massage can help reduce stress headaches. Myth or fact?
They can. It's not necessarily for everyone. Sometimes headaches don't have to do with muscles. It can be due with uh, lots of different things, depending on who they are. But when it comes to why I start face down, when you have a knot that's in one area, and let's just say, I've been working with doctors and RNs and physical therapists on the table, and we just get into science conversations, kinesiology conversations, because we love to learn off of each other, a lot of clients and I. So over the years, I've learned that when a knot is here, if it's not taken care of, it can get harder
Mm.
and kind of dig deeper down into the base foundation, down towards the bone. When that happens, that can create a lot of stress, but then you have every other knot that comes on top of it. So when it comes to headaches and the stress headaches, I start people face down so I can get, I shouldn't have cut my hair up. Um, I got to start moving now again. So when you get your anyone who has stress headaches, make sure you start face down and got a lot of work on the movement here in the neck and then the upper into the back. When I start face down, we have talked about lymphatic drainage here prior, right?
A little bit,
I
yeah.
think,
Yep.
I think a little bit. So the way I like to work, as long as it does work, which is the majority of the time, I have my idea and thoughts about the perfect way of massage in terms of everything, but that takes a lot of moving around. But if anyone does get stress headaches, when you start face up, in terms of lymphatic drainage, when if you ever do, you can watch a YouTube video about it. The ducts that you have are in through here and then down here by your legs, right? So if you have an issue, say right here in your lymphatic drainage system, you can't necessarily start from up here and press up because this is where the clog is. So trying to press lymphatic drainage here into a clog can make the clog more backed up, right? So instead of doing that, you want to start from the top and slowly clear things up from the top down to the bottom. Because if this is the area that's clogged, you want to unclog what's on top of it to keep it going. So you want to start from the top and go down to the bottom and then start moving up this way. So if you have stress headaches, you want to start from the most movable area, which is your upper back, into your back of your neck, and then up into your scalp, which can help. Did you know that your skull can breathe a little bit? Did you know the sutures go in and out with their cerebral spinal fluid?
The what goes in and out with the spinal fluid? What is it?
Okay. So I took a course on craniosacral massage many years ago, and I'm trying to think. However, your lymphatic, not your cerebrospinal fluid goes between your brain and the back, the bottom of your spine. It keeps on going back and forth. So if you ever get a session of craniosacral session, we do this for a craniosacral reset. So we put our hands underneath your skull and we actually feel the skull breathe in and out. It's kind of like a wave that goes back and forth, and we can actually reset that.
Wow.
So when it comes to everything, you need to make sure that, and that comes from the feet to the legs to like the upper body into the neck. However, when it comes down to everything, making sure that your skull can breathe with as few knots as possible is incredibly important. When you start face down and you get as much of these knots in through here, relax, and then you work into the neck Once again, the most movable to the least movable. So when you're working through here and you go up into your skull, people have more skull knots than they realize. When I was working with these doctors and and RNs and other specialty specialists, they are saying essentially make sure you do that, because if you start from the neck and go down, or we'll just say the least movable to the more movable, you're trying to take that stress and press it into more stress. So when you work on the areas that are most movable to the least movable, you have a higher chance at removing those knots compared to least movable to most movable. When you work on knots and they get hard and they dig deep down and move in compensation, a lot of those knots that are working in your neck will get up and through here. And this area is a very important area to note on for people who have headaches. So a lot of the knots that sit up here, because they keep moving, have to come flat because the muscles in your skull are flat. So if you're trying to, and they're pressing up because that's the way the natural muscles are when it comes to their structure. So when they go and it's on their way up, pressing down on muscles that are not ready to release is going to be a lot harder for the therapist themselves.
You're like a massage scientist.
I love science. I absolutely love it. I just recently tried to go for RN, but I can't learn the way that they're teaching. It is a very interesting situation. And I have an epilepsy disorder. I've been having issues with doctors for many years, and I'm trying to find a way for avocation. And I don't know if that was the right route. So I stopped it. However, it's very important to me to advocate and do everything I can to help people feel better, because that's what any health professional should be there for.
Sure.
And I know by my own experiences how hard it is when, as a kid, you want every single client to stay with you and everything. And then you run into people who are very inconsiderate of clients moving from one to the other and all that sort of drama. But I learned over the years just to kind of let it go. I haven't had it too many times, but I've had a lot of people on my table saying about doctorate second opinions, and if I can't figure out something or know someone that I can incorporate how to do it in massage, I have to let you go, or I need to do severe research on it. It all depends on which way the therapist wants to go. When I was in massage school, the one thing I wanted was medical grade interventional massage. And some people go that way. Some people go into the extreme athletics, like I said, football or baseball in through there. I would like to be there, but the ultimate is everyone for relaxation. And some people only want to do energy work, or some people only want to do relaxation spa environment. So when it comes to a second opinion, if you're not getting to where you want to go, of course, you want to give it a couple of sessions to make sure, if you take it home with education and things like that, that hopefully it'll work. But after so many sessions of having these issues, it's time to move on to someone else. And I've taken that to heart. I do not want to have to be in a spot where I have to send you for a second opinion. And that's what I strive for.
Well, you know what? It might get to a point where you physically can't help them anymore. That's just the way it is.
Very true.
Yeah.
Right. That is also very true.
Got it.
That it's just something you strive for, to be someone that you don't necessarily have to push out to someone else. Like, I can take care of it here. If not, I'll do research on it because I care about it as much as I do.
So we got about 30 seconds.
Already?
Yeah. Like almost overtime now. You wanted to send some shout outs?
I did. So One of the biggest people in my life, his name is Mano J. Gupta. He is a tax consultant who has told me over a couple of years to start my own business. I listen to him. I feel so free. I just got done talking to him not that long ago. So if you're in the Reading area, Mano J. Gupta is a fantastic tax person. I highly would we recommend him if ever. I'm not a person for Thai massage. However, I have a friend who stuck with me for many years, and she's held my hand a couple of times during this time period. Her nickname is Maggie. If you're over around Elizabethtown, I believe, it's called Miracle Thai Massage. And I just, in terms of looking up to random people in the world, I have a grandpa who I lost many years ago. And I found these two people, celebrity people, over social media, and they kind of remind me of him. My grandpa taught me for many years to be able to afford your life before you move into a relationship aspect of your life, so you don't necessarily have to, rely on someone else extremely. You can carry yourself. So I'm still in that realm. But after my grandparents passed away, I found these. I don't know much about them. I know there's drama out in the world, but I wonder if they would be proud of me. I found they're also podcasters, Andrew and Tristan Tate. I think they live over in Dubai somewhere. After I found their social media and I was looking on their podcasts, it's awesome to see people, and I strive to be this way to a degree, who are happy for other people's success. And it seems like with the little bit of podcasts I watch, they are. And I wonder if they'd be proud of me I'm not good at their industry, but I'm pretty decent at mine. So I would wonder if they would be proud of me someday.
I'm sure. I don't even have a doubt about that. I have never met anybody with the amount of passion you have for what you do, and especially that passion to help people. I know this is going to be a little woo, but I'm going to say it based on my own experience. Your grandparents, ask for a sign, a specific one. See what you get. I'm just, I know it's a little woo. Not everybody believes in that.
No, I do. I have confirmation that the afterlife life exists. I've had more than a couple confirmations. I'm completely happy with my life. I know my grandpa's happy with me. I get visits from him often. So I actually had someone who just passed away not long ago, and she popped up to me about a week later, and she looks at me and smiles and says, "Jami, I'm so proud of you." So I'm very glad but no, I have had that sort of confirmation in life, and I have no doubt about that they are. But Andrew and Tristan Tate are physical human beings with skin, essentially, in this life. So I look up to their podcasts because my grandpa can't physically be there for me necessarily anymore. So there are two people who I've looked up to in the last couple of years to have the passion to step out on my own.
Well, you know what? You read their energy. You're picking up on what they're putting out. And I'm sure others are picking up on your energy, as I am, thinking, you know what? She really has carved her way through here and really truly enjoys what she does and has a thirst to learn more, all with the end result of helping other people. How do we find you, Jami? What's the best way?
My website is jamistherapeutictouch.lauschgenius.com. And then within that website will be two icons that take you to my Facebook and Instagram account.
I wish I was near Reading, Pennsylvania, because I got knots. My neck just cracked. Yeah. I mean, you're phenomenal at what you do. jamistherapeutictouch.glossgenius.com, correct?
Yep. Do you ever have any podcasts that are outside of your office? Like if you ever end up in the Philadelphia area, I'm just a step and a jump away.
You never know. Universe says so. That's what's going to be happening. But I truly appreciate you being here and sharing all this knowledge about massage. Yes, it's great, to get a relaxing massage, but it goes way deeper than that. And it's not just when you have some pain. It's also, therapeutic and maintenance on your body, as I've learned. Thank you so much for being here during these podcasts. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your time. I hope I did everyone really well and people learned off me. And I'm just hoping that someone took any piece of this podcast to be able to fuel their own fire and be able to step out on their own as well.
I know they have. And I really mean that.
I hope.
I wish I was saying
that I'm someone's mentor to a degree. So
when I was younger,
even just a moment.
I wish I was saying that.
I can too.
You got it.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.